My first film, Monsters, you never, like it's the first time you've ever made a film, and you can't help but look for any comments or anything. And there was a screening, I think in Leicester Square, like a preview, and Hey You Guys was the first people to comment on it. I think someone did a video straight out of the screening, and they were very sweet. And so I always remember, like your website is always like a lot of love for it. So.
Oh, thank you. Well, we love your films.
I know.
It's one of my favourites.
So this had better be good.
This better, yeah. But I was into, because you've done sort of stepped into franchises and sort of into big cinematic universes with Godzilla and obviously with Rogue One as well. But I'm just saying, because those films are easier to get greenlit. They come with that kind of, they've got that established fanfare already.
Yeah, they're happening whether you're on board or not. Yeah,
exactly.
Right?
But I just wondered about just how different a challenge it is to get an original film like The Creator off the ground.
It's hard. I'm not blaming the fact it took me 7 years to make the next film, and I'm not blaming it on this fact, but it's kind of half true. It's really hard to get people to commit. Like, you'll go into a meeting, you'll show them all the visuals, you'll talk through the story, and people will be very complimentary and be like, "Oh my, yeah, that's amazing," and there's just, unfortunately, original filmmaking and on this like a science fiction level just isn't what it used to be. When I grew up, there was a new original sci-fi or fantasy film every single week, it felt like, and they all turned out to be classics. And now it's, we're in that world, as we all know, of a lot of franchise, and I've done my fair share, and IP and everything. And so this is more like a love letter to those movies I grew up with, where I'm trying to put them all together in a pot and stir it and get something on screen that I've really missed, the last few years.
And you're quite a visual filmmaker, so with that in mind, I mean, how exciting is it to enter into a world that, because it isn't attached to any franchise, you can completely create this landscape. You can dictate the entire terms and tonality of this universe. Yeah. Is that something you really enjoy? And do you get quite involved in that process, in the kind of the look of it?
Sure. Yeah, it's like, that's a big upside, is that no one can tell you you're wrong. Because you're like, I am God of this world, and we will have giant monolithic shapes for no reason whatsoever. So it was really exciting because there was no rules. And what I love about my favorite kind of science fiction, and what George Lucas did so well with Star Wars, is there's so many details. Is when you have lots of things that you just don't understand. Like when you go to a real place in the world that you've never been to before, there's people and buildings and activity going on where you just, I don't know what the hell that is. And if you really went to the future, came back and edited a movie, that you'd shot from 2070, there'd be so many things where it wouldn't make sense to you. And I wanted the film to be full of that kind of detail. And so we had one of my favorite things was just sitting with James Klein, who designed a lot of this stuff, and just over Zoom, just watch his desktop. And we just start painting things over frames and just messing around, and it was godlike in the kind of, it's all that imagery you've always wanted to see in a movie, but people don't always let you do it, and this time we could just do whatever we wanted.
I mean, a lot of the landscape is informed just by the beautiful paradise that is sort of Southeast Asia. How was it filming there? And I mean, I'm assuming the food must have been, because I've been there before and the food's so good.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably wasted on me because I was so I'm not that ambitious with my food tastes when I go to a place like that. But it's absolutely stunning and beautiful. But weirdly, it's really hard making a film. And so it's like you're in a war, but in paradise, And so I'm looking at everyone else and they're really loving it. Like, oh, this is like being on holiday, And I'm like trying to die to make this film. I went over there I hate writing screenplays, getting the first draft done. I'm rubbish at doing that. It's the worst homework in the world. And so I actually just thought, okay, I'm going to lock myself in a beautiful hotel and I won't leave until I finish. And so I went for 3 weeks to this resort in Thailand called Raleigh Beach and fell in love with it. And it ended up, that's the opening scene of the movie, is that beach, and ended up using that in the film itself because it was so nice.
I want to ask about the casting of the young Madeleine as well, because with established kind of adult actors, there's so many things that can inform what casting. You can have a really great creative conversation on Zoom. They've got their whole kind of back catalogue of work to kind of pick from. But when it comes to choosing kind of child actor who's got such a huge part in this, is it almost instinctive in regards to when you sort of go, this is who I want?
With Madeline, it was a no-brainer because she just was stunning in the audition. She did that thing you just dream of a kid doing. When they walk in, she just nailed it and made you want to cry. Yeah, I mean, the main thing was that we were going to take this kid on a 6-month journey into like the Himalayas, to like volcanoes and jungles and everything. And so I wanted to make sure that like the family was stable and everything. And so when we did the auditions, we actually did them at Universal Studios. And then when the audition was over, I went and hung out with them, and they went off on the rides and everything. And they're just such a sweet family. It was actually a birthday about a week ago, and they hadn't seen John David since the film. And so we took her to Disneyland and went on all the rides, and it was like this reunion. It was like a big brother had returned from the war or something.
My final question I was going to ask about, because I'm interested to know, since this film was kind of conceived and subsequently shot, AI has become even more of a kind of talking point, especially this year, kind of ChatGPT and stuff. So how does it make it feel watching the movie now? Does it feel quite strange? Do you think if you were to make the creator right this second, if you started the process now, it would be at all different, but given how the landscape's kind of changed and it's become more of a talking point?
Yeah, I think I don't know what would be different, but I'm sure it would be different. It's very strange watching the movie because obviously it was written and created before everything kind of went weird with AI the last year. But I'm sort of like, I can't quite believe we did what we did, because I think essentially originally AI was used as a metaphor, like a science fiction metaphor for people who are different. It was more like a fairy tale kind of setup. But then when you research AI, there's really fascinating philosophical questions that come up, like that really start to worry you, like about them being real and turning them off, and what if they don't do what you want, and things like this. And then the movie became more about that. And now watching it, like we had to do a quality check of the IMAX print, and went and watched it. It was like one of the longest periods of not watching it. It was like 2 or 3 weeks. Because of all that we'd finished the movie a while back, and sat down and I sort of saw it with the freshest eyes you kind of can, and was like, oh my God, this is really on the money with like what's happening right now in terms of, this fear of AI, and is it bad, and should we get rid of it, and then the journey of the movie is kind of exploring that, and I'm actually quite optimistic. Like I think AI, we're going to have some bumps in the road. But I think AI is going to be like an incredible tool that, you'll be able to divide it. Just like the birth of the computer or electricity, there'll be this before and after AI. And we tend to get, it has seismic impacts on many industries, but we tend to get to the side and look back and glad it happened. And so I'm just edging my bets, because if it all backfires and there's a robot apocalypse, then I'm actually going to be saved, because their favourite movie is going to be the creator, so I'm going to be all right. I'm just sorry that you're going to be enslaved.
Well,
There you go.
I like the film as well. I don't know if that would give me any brownie points in their eyes.
Well, maybe.
Maybe not. Cheers. Well, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey you guys!
Hey, you guys!